What's going on, all you hot climate gardeners? My name is Kyle Lessard with the Desert Bounty Homestead, and today I'm going to show you my 2 or 3-ish bin composting system that I do in my small space garden, as well as how I turn the compost into really high quality potting soil that you can grow all your fruits and vegetables and greens or whatever you want in your garden. So let's go. Before we get started into the compost and everything, and for those who don't know me, which is pretty much everybody, I've been gardening. This is my 3rd year, and I have my 1st year, a little bit of harvest. Year 2, I harvested a lot of tomatoes, some other stuff, but realized my failures. And then this year, using the soil that I'm going to teach you to use, including everything else. This is my garden as of May 20th, 2026. This is a tomato plant. This is tomato alley. We gotta come through this aisle here where we've just got our tomato plants and fruits, and we got our bees, pumpkins, more tomatoes, you name it. And then down here we've got our peppers and our strawberries, big squash, and everything growing. Today is not about plants though. Today is about soil health, which is really the most important thing to growing your vegetables. Soil health, keeping healthy soil with a high amount of microbes, a high amount of biology in it. This is what's going to make your plants grow. Dead soil or soil devoid any nutrition, you're not going to get plants to grow very well and fruit for you. So let's get into my composting system, what I do to keep my compost together, and then I'll show you how I use my finished compost, how I sift it, and then how I turn it into really good soil. My everything bucket. I use this for cleaning cages, and I clean it out, use it for mixing soil, I clean it out, and I use it to brood quail. So this is my everything bucket. But today we're going to be using it to sift compost. All right, let me show you a couple elements of my composting system. Then I'll show you how I turn it into soil. So I've kind of got 4 stages that I follow in my garden. Stage 1 is when I'm actually out here and I'm actually pruning off dead leaves and harvesting some stuff. I'm going to take my dead leaves and I'll put them in a bucket. Right, and then that comes with me out to compost bin number 1, which, if you couldn't tell by the first part of the video, my compost bins are both trash cans that I found just in the desert. So I spent no money on my composting systems, and I cover them with sheets. And then I have 2 different types of animals. I have guinea pigs that are an input here with hay and everything. And then I have quail, and I keep the quail poop until I'm ready for a new batch, or I throw it out. And although small space composting might sound like fun, it does sometimes bring some things you don't want, flies or whatever. So I do lovingly cover them in an attempt to keep those at bay, especially the flies. So once I add everything, my second bay looks like this. This is my working compost, basically, and this is what I turn and flip every, I'd like to say I do it every week, but it's probably every 2 weeks that I do it. And basically what that means is when you're composting and you've got everything put in there, and I'll tell you kind of the ratios of everything, you want to be able to mix it so that all the material has a chance to break down and keep everything active and hot. Okay, so the first stage of making really good soil is you need something to hold a lot of water, and one of my favorite things that does that, as well as very bulky, I have the 2 cubic feet of coco coir, but this I got off Amazon. I think it was 15 bucks, and I have to soak this whole thing in water because you're not planting anything, and that maybe you're making a bow and arrow target. And just so you know, don't let the shirt confuse you. I wear this shirt because they're a local team. I have no idea how you make a touchdown in a basketball game. Okay, that's about as much as I know about it. Now, okay, back to the mission. So we gotta open this, put it into my everything bucket, like I already told you, and fill it with water. I like coconut coir better than peat moss. One, you don't have to worry about acidity levels changing unless you're trying to grow something that needs more high acidity, and that makes sense. Two, it doesn't become hydrophobic, as I do have some pots out here with peat moss, and you will see that they are hydrophobic. And when you dance, I'm in the groove. You make me move. You make me move. The next amendment I'm adding in is going to be perlite, and the perlite helps with drainage. It helps with the root development and makes it more fluffy. But Mel's mix is 1/3 is perlite, 1/3 is compost, and 1/3 is peat moss or coco coir, and that is the perfect soil. So that's what we're building here. Let's get back into the compost part of it and adding the perlite. So the perlites, there are cheaper alternatives on Amazon if you want to spend 40 bucks to do that. I like these bags from Home Depot because they're 6 bucks and I can just grab them quick, but I do think I end up paying more for perlite either way. But anyway, using 2 bags for this amount because that's 2 cubic yards, and this trash can of compost about half full. And I like to mix this in before it gets too much in there. And so this first, you can see how fluffy that is. Sometimes it's even better to just use your hands. Okay, so then what I do from here is I've got this. They're about, if you want an easy way to do this, you just take a couple 2x4s and some quarter-inch wire cloth, and then you can make a sifter for your compost. put that there. And I got my finished compost. I'm just gonna scoop it into here. I find I don't like to overload it with compost. It's easier to separate. And then here, I'm sure I'm just going to fast forward all of it. You can see there's that. And since I'm turning over this whole bin, I'm going to pour this into my bin that's still composting, and then I'm going to flip it all into here.
You got it all inside of you. Feel it to be true. And when you dance, I'm in the groove. You make me move. You make me move. You got it all inside of you. Feel it to be true. And when you dance, I'm in the groove. You make me move. You make me move.
Okay, we got to mix again. That was definitely a workout, but let's get to mixing.
You got it all inside of you. Feel it to be true. And when you dance, I'm in the groove. You make me move. You make me move. You got it all.
I see some people do this with a tarp. Never tried it, but I bet it would be pretty easy.
You make me move. You make me move.
Now you may be thinking that we're all done, everything's mixed together, but actually there is one major missing component. Now, I'm not immediately making this into a pot, but I am gonna fertilize it right now. And the reason being, one is gonna set up whatever plants I do put in here for good health, but because I use an organic fertilizer, it takes a little bit longer for it to break down and the microbes to get to it. Plus, microbes love fertilizer, and so if I get this really highly active with microbiology, even before we have plants going into it, which won't be long, a couple days or something, it's gonna still maintain better this way. And when your plants go in there, they're gonna grow like crazy. So, okay, let's add the last ingredient. Okay, now I really only use 2 different fertilizers at this point. Both are organic, and either way, that doesn't mean that I only use organic fertilizers during the whole growing process, but I do use organic growing fertilizers during this period and throughout the growing season, because there's 2 kind of means of fertilization. One is if you're just gonna feed the plants, which could be like water soluble, synthetic fertilizers, even granular synthetic fertilizers. And then the other way is you're feeding the soil so that you keep really good, healthy soil throughout the years, and even in potting, in pots like I grow, and you can still maintain really good soil health for a longer period of time. They still need more amendments, but and then the compost and all of that kind of work together. So the number 1 is I use an organic 555. This is anything that's got the even 3 numbers, the NPK. The NPK is right here at the bottom. That's nitrogen, phosphorus, and calcium is what those stand for. on the elemental trays. This smells like cat food, or cat fishing bait, basically. And then in this coconut oil thing, I've got homemade bone meal that I make from chicken bones from dog food we make, but that's for a different video. Anyways, we're gonna mix these amendments in, and then this soil is gonna be ready to, basically the soil is going to be to amend all of the soil out here right before we really hit into the really hot summer. I have a lot of 20-gallon pots for my indeterminate tomatoes, and those, when I first filled them up to save a little bit of money, I only filled up 3/4 of them and I folded half of them down. So this is going to be a part where I go through and I fill all the way up, so that they're going to make it through the summer and then give me a really good fall tomato harvest and pepper harvest. Well, the peppers are good, but all right, let's mix this in and then I'll show you what the final product looks like. As far as the first one, the bone meal that I make at home, again, there it is. I just use as much as I think. This is a lot of soil, so I'm gonna use all of that. That was probably about a cup. I've got more inside ready to be ground up. And then here, in this says, I always read the label and I just follow the instructions there because they'll tell you exactly how much to use and when to replenish. But this says, for getting started for potting plants, mix into potting soil before planting. 4 to 6 inch diameter pot is 2 tablespoons. 8-inch diameter pot and larger is 4 tablespoons and plus. So this is, I'm gonna probably put 1.5 cups in here. It's gonna look like a lot, but I'm gonna use this cup. Oh, and you know, that's how accurate we are with that. That's fine. About as much as I wanted anyways, can't go wrong. I also fertilize interplanting, so that's good. Again, we're gonna mix all this in. I'm not gonna be as diligent to get every piece in there. Got my shovel. Again, we're feeding the microbiology in here, and I plan on fertilizing when I add this. All right, now what we're left with is this beautiful arid soil. So like I mentioned, I'm going to be amending most of my pots before summer hits. It's something I like to do. We get hot. I want to make my plants last. This is how I make some of my pots bigger. See, here's the 20-gallon pots that I have folded in half, and I'm going to lift them up and fill them up with soil and really give a lot more life to Tomato Alley. So that's today's episode, guys. I hope that you do some kind of composting at your house. We do a lot of inputs, like I told you, and I really try to do as much zero waste as we can. I mean, we got 3 kids, so we got to do what we got to do. But that's today's episode. Later.